Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 78 of our WWE 2021 Save and TEW 2020. This is Raw for December week 4, our official go-home show for Armageddon. And yes, I know it took a little while to get to this one, but as you guys saw in the community posts we did, which by the way, we have those now that we've hit 500 subscribers. So it gives another great way to interact with you guys. I did mention going back to the WCW 1998 video we did last week. You heard my voice in that. It was not great. And pretty much finally almost getting my voice all the way back now. So just been under the weather. And yes, so I can finally sort of speak again to do these videos. And so that's what took a little while. And we had a little bit of a break there for a week. But back here with Raw. And this is our final episode before Armageddon. And so we got a lot to get to in this one, a lot we built up. That isn't even necessarily related to the pay-per-view that we'll have on this episode in particular. So we start with the pre-show here. Mustafa Ali gets the win over Akira Tozawa, 8-17. But what I like the most is like the 67. I know that's like, that's just kind of your average match, I guess, at some point. And a lot of our, in our series here in the WWE ones, we kind of use that 70 to 80 range to, good matches. But it's probably one of our highest pre-show matches we've had, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I expected it because I just didn't. But as I've said since the beginning of this save, Tozawa has come through in some pretty big matches for us. So he does it again here on the pre-show, 67. Ali is someone who you'll see will be involved in Armageddon, actually, surprisingly, that we've actually not really done a whole lot with him recently. But you'll see what his role is going to be at Armageddon here soon enough. But yes, this is just kind of, getting him a win. And again, he will have a role to play at Armageddon. And we'll get to that in a bit. But let's start with the main edition of Raw. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, as I'm recording this, I'm having to mark the different places that I'm going to be, like I'm coughing. And so I have to remember to go back and cut some of these out. So hopefully I don't leave any of these in accidentally and you guys hear a big loud cough because it's just going to happen trying to record this. So I don't know how long this episode will be. But we start the show off not in a great way here. It's just as well as the pre-show match, so that's interesting. But Austin, who does not do well without a script to follow, I'm not buying that at all. Gable, I can understand in this save in particular. But we start off with a backstage segment. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin telling Chad Gable he has a gift for him, and he's got it after his match. Remember, we teased this on the previous episode of Raw, that Austin said that this week he was going to send Gable in the right direction. He knew exactly what he needs to do to kind of get him to where he wants to be, as one of the top rising stars in WWE. That's what Gable's aiming for, and Austin said he had just the thing for him. So after his match, which is going to kick off Raw, Austin says, I am going to deliver to you the gift that you need to get you on the right track. So 67, a pretty disappointing start here, but that is kind of the basis for what we're going to have. And speaking of the match, it is Gable getting the win over Dolph Ziggler, 9:38. The fast roll-up does it, so we did do kind of a flash pinfall here. 61 for this one. Pretty good chemistry between these two, which I can't say I'm shocked by that. A lot of similarities between these two, so good chemistry between Gable and Ziggler, so we could always go back to that if we needed to. But the story is after the match, because Gable is successful in his win, and as Austin said, he's got a gift for our friend Chad Gable, and that gift is, in another 67 here, Austin says he has found Chad Gable a mentor, and here comes Kurt Angle, who makes his way out. And it is official. Austin has found Chad Gable a mentor, and his gift is Kurt Angle, who comes out and says that he is going to take Chad Gable, and put him exactly where he needs to be as one of the next big stars in the WWE. So Angle, short and sweet here, but we have an alliance, it seems. Kurt Angle joining Chad Gable. And this partnership and where things head from here. Austin thinks it's exactly what Chad Gable needed, and Kurt Angle makes his first official appearance in our series here. And so, Gable and Angle, what could that lead to? A lot of fun possibilities, but these ratings are not great. Like just 67s all over the place thus far in this one. But Angle debuts the Olympic gold medalist. It should get a grade. It does. So we recap our gimmick changes here. Yes, we know that. So angle with the gimmick. But there you go. That's kind of your thing we've been teasing for a couple weeks now, trying to get Gable headed in the right direction. And it is Austin delivering Kurt Angle as perhaps the missing piece of the puzzle for Chad Gable. So we're playing that up here. So there you go. There was the big reveal for Chad Gable, and apparently his new mentor that he's going to have in Kurt Angle. And then backstage, it is Edge and Randy Orton, and we continue the theme here. Orton continuing to question Edge, and he keeps coming at him about this partner choice. As we said, we've really not teased any tension whatsoever between Edge and Randy Orton since everything that happened at SummerSlam. But this has kind of been the first point that we've kind of had a little bit of that tension building between the two. Orton's not been happy. He's pointed it out ever since Edge threw down the gauntlet for the 6-man street fight at Armageddon with the Bullet Club. And Orton just continues to question the choice of a partner here. And Edge just continues to push at Orton and say, look, I know what I'm doing. Everything's going to be fine. You two guys will be able to work together. We're all uniting for a common cause here, and it's because we all understand the need to keep me at the top of WWE as the champion, and that means we have to take out the Bullet Club to do just that. So Edge just makes it clear we all have common goals here, and that everything will be fine. And Orton's he's not fully buying it here. He's not there with Edge's kind of reasoning, but Edge just tells him everything's going to be fine, but you and I got bigger plans we got to take care of for tonight. We'll worry about our partner when we get to Armageddon on Sunday. So 80 overall for this one, so that's kind of your tease for that. And then we get an official announcement that women's tag team title match is officially set for Armageddon, as it's going to be a rematch of what we had several months ago back at Unforgiven, and that is going to be the team of Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville, our women's tag team champions, defending against the Rebels, Toni Storm and Liv Morgan. A little bit different circumstances, as we know now. Much different than maybe things were 3 months ago. But this is set as our official match, and this gets a 65. And as I've said before, I know this Armageddon pay-per-view, I talked about kind of the schedule for Raw. This was going to feel kind of thrown together a little bit, but it's just the nature of the schedule. As I said, when we think about, we had dual-branded Survivor Series, we had Mae Young Classic, now we have Armageddon coming up, and then we've got the Royal Rumble coming up after that. So Raw basically working with 4 pay-per-views here in a span of 2 months. Essentially, that's kind of how this is unfolded. So things have kind of been a little bit quicker to put together on Raw. So this is set, though. I think it'll be a good match. And as I said, we're kind of playing up a different dynamic here. And as you'll see, one party in particular here is not finished for the evening, as you'll see here in just a few. And then it is Angelo Dawkins apparently having a gimmick that's getting stale. Apparently that's not good for his motivation attempts, because he tries to continue his motivation of Montez Ford. Of course, we've been playing up Ford really being down after losing that opportunity at the championship, thinking he had won the title, beating Edge, but then having it ripped away from him on a technicality. But Dawkins trying to motivate Ford, pointing out the importance of this tag team match they have on Sunday against the Lucha Brothers, with the winner going on to take on the tag team champions at the Royal Rumble. And Dawkins just trying to motivate him, saying, look, this is very important for us. And Dawkins says, I'm going for 2 in a row now. I won last week. Now I got a match coming up with Penta. I'm going to try to give us the advantage heading into Armageddon. So Ford you can tell he's just still thinking about it. He's still thinking about how close he was to being the WWE champion. So 73 here for this one. Good stuff between these two. And that does lead us into the match where Penta is going to get the win over Angelo Dawkins. 12:01, the Fear Factor does it. Gets a 54, so not a great match here. A little disappointing, to be honest. I would have expected much better, perhaps, between these two, but I don't really know. I guess we did do storytelling. We had to do that, so that kind of held it back a little bit. So that was a penalty for sure. So would have done better if we not had to use storytelling, but as we know with the product, we have to do that. So we used it for this one. Couldn't really find any other places to use that for this one, for that booking note. So Penta gets the win, so he's actually going to give the Lucha Brothers a bit of an advantage heading into that match on Sunday, and should be an interesting one. Lucha Brothers, Street Profits. Winner goes on to challenge for the tag team titles at the Royal Rumble. And then Owens says he is ready for his next challenge, back out for another U.S. title open challenge. But here comes Theory, and it is Austin Theory who says, look, he said last week he was coming back. He told Owens. Owen comes out here acting like he's going to have a challenge. That's not happening because Austin says that he came back, and just like he said he would, and he did not come alone because like he said last week, he's going to bring his dad with him. And we all kind of hinted it. We know what that means. His dad, Austin Theory, is going to bring his father out here with him. And then we get Theory saying, and he is here. And with 66 for this one. And yes, here he comes. Johnny Gargano is officially arrived. And Austin Theory just jumping up and down. He's very excited. He's taunting Kevin Owens. Gargano comes out just kind of stoic on the ramp. And Owens does great here, 65. This is one of those where Theory's just so excited. Like, we're really playing up the excitement because now Theory thinks, all right, now we're going to get that U.S. Championship. But just as Theory is just over the top, excited, taunting Kevin Owens, Owens and Gargano staring each other down, all of a sudden, in a terrible segment, it is Johnny Gargano who absolutely just clocks Austin Theory and throws him into the video screen, and everybody's just going wild, realizing that, Theory's big plan here apparently was to bring in Gargano as his backup. Well, that didn't work out because Gargano throws Theory into the video screen, and Theory is down and out. The crowd just kind of doesn't know what to do here. Owens just standing in the rings. That's just 43, not great. But then that leads to Gargano grabbing the microphone, and he says he's not here to play games. He is here to make an impact, and he says that's what I'm going to do because I'm not dealing with that fool there laying on the ground. I'm here to win the United States Championship, and that is when Johnny Gargano challenges Kevin Owens for the U.S. title and tells him to meet him on Sunday at Armageddon. So, Gargano challenging Owens here for the U.S. title. Our first appearance from Johnny Gargano in the save, and he is officially laying down the gauntlet, and as you guessed, Owens accepts the challenge, and he says he will be there. So, our U.S. title match official for Armageddon. Kevin Owens versus Johnny Gargano one-on-one. This gets a 68 for this one. I think that match is going to be fantastic. And as you saw, we kind of added in a little wrinkle now with Austin Theory. A big match added to the card here. And like I said, I know it's kind of quick, thrown together, but then again, aren't all these U.S. title open challenge matches? This one, we at least got a little bit of a heads up that this is what you're going to get on Sunday at Armageddon. And then we get an announcement that Becky Lynch is going to officially be interviewed, and we will see that interview at Armageddon. Of course, we have not seen Becky since the events that took place at the Mae Young Classic involving Roman Reigns. And we say, the update, we kind of got an update sparingly last week just saying that, we would hear from Becky soon enough. And so the interview is set at Armageddon. We will get an interview with Becky Lynch to kind of get her thoughts on everything that happened and kind of what she, is going to do moving forward. So 69, nice rating for this one. There's your update on Becky Lynch. And then in almost another great match here, which we use, you guys know we've been going to this a lot, and I know we've used some different combinations as the heels, but it's been fun to book these three together because they are just, I've said it, they are just red hot. Like, they are momentum-wise the top three. If you look at our, go to the creative section, all that, these three have the most momentum of anyone in our company. And we just continue to pair them together, knowing that they have a big match coming up at Armageddon. But once again, it is the team of Big E, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan, successful in six-man tag action, getting the win over Dijak, Shelton Benjamin, and Shane Thorne. So Cesaro getting the pin on Thorne there. But just, these guys have just been fantastic. And so we almost get an 80 here. 79, we'll take it for this one. But as we know, the bigger story is that these three just continuing to kind of one-up each other because they're all just on a roll. And now they will meet on Sunday in the triple threat match with the winner getting a WWE title shot at the Royal Rumble. So Big E versus Cesaro versus Bryan set for Armageddon, but they get another win in tag team action here, and it won't be the last we see of these three on this episode. And then a big segment here, as it is Sonya Deville who is confronting Steve Austin. If we remember, Deville was wondering why Austin was kind of smiling at her last week as she had declared that they were going to be this unstoppable force, this new alliance that they have together with her, Baszler, and Mandy Rose. And Austin just kind of, Deville comes up. They're all three with her. And she wants to know, what is Austin's? Why was he smiling last week? Like, why is was he smirking? Like, what is this? What's going on? And that's when Austin reveals that, the reason he was smiling is because he had just made a deal. And Austin says that he made an official trade between Raw and SmackDown. And that is when Deville's eyes kind of look around and she's starting to figure out what's happening here. And that is when Austin says, I've made a trade. I have traded Mandy Rose to SmackDown for another superstar who we'll see soon enough on Raw, but your little friend here, Mandy Rose, no longer on Raw. And that is when Austin says, they're freaking out because obviously we know what that means, because now that puts Mandy Rose on SmackDown with Paige, who everything that took place at the Mae Young Classic. So Mandy Rose is officially on SmackDown now, and that is when Austin points out, well, now that she's on SmackDown, she's going to be over there with Paige. And Austin points out she could be all alone, because if you two lose the tag team championships on Sunday against Toni Storm and Liv Morgan, you two will be here on Raw with no way to get back to SmackDown anymore. So Austin points out, pretty big match, isn't it? You got a lot on the line here, because if you lose those titles, he says, you won't be joining Mandy Rose on SmackDown anytime you want. You'll be right here on Raw while she's over there on SmackDown getting exactly what she deserves at the hands of Paige. So, quite a little wrinkle added in here, as Mandy Rose has been traded to SmackDown. So for everyone that thought that maybe Paige would not be able to get her hands on Mandy Rose for what she did at the Mae Young Classic, well, that's out of the picture, because now she's officially on SmackDown, and there's now the possibility that our tag team champions in this alliance will not be together anymore, because if they lose the titles at Armageddon, Deville and Baszler are going to be stuck on Raw while Rose is stuck on SmackDown. So Austin has really pulled kind of quite an interesting experiment here, wondering if this could be how it all unfolds. We'll see. But a 69, nice rating for this one. By the way, our ratings, this is not going to be a great show, as we know, but it is what it is. So and then it is Bayley, who Bayley has decided to come out, and Bayley says that I'm going to give you my response to Rhea Ripley's challenge. Rhea Ripley named her prize after winning the Mae Young Classic, and she said she wanted her Raw Women's title back. And so Bayley comes out and she says, I'm going to give you my response to Rhea Ripley's challenge. And that is when Bayley says that her response is that before she does anything with Rhea Ripley, she wants to defend her Raw Women's Championship right here tonight on Raw, and she's going to do it right now. And that is when she says she would like to defend her championship against Rhea Ripley's partner at the King of the Ring, when the last time these two were in the ring together, when Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan took on Bayley and Sasha Banks. Bayley says, I want to defend my title tonight against Liv Morgan. So Bayley grabs a chair, she sits down in the middle of the ring, and she says, I am going to wait until Liv Morgan comes out here, because I am defending my title against her first before I will defend it against Rhea Ripley. So, an interesting development here from Bayley, who has not been, someone who's been very anxious to defend her title by any means. She's gone on vacations. She didn't take part in the Mae Young Classic. But right now, she's demanding a title on the spot here, a title match, as it's going to be her against Liv Morgan, maybe? So we go to commercial. We come back. Bayley's still sitting in the ring. No one's come out yet. She's still sitting there, so she's sticking to her word here. She's not leaving until she defends her title against Liv Morgan. Quite a change here from Bayley. And then here comes Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, another 69 here. So nice rating, but it's like we're not getting out of the 60s on this episode. This is quite an episode. But Rhea Ripley comes out, and she's with Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan accepts the challenge. Like, sure, why not, right? Like, why wouldn't she take her shot at getting the Raw Women's Championship, perhaps? So we have an official match here. We're going to have a women's title match. Bayley versus Liv Morgan, as Liv Morgan is accepted. You can tell Rhea Ripley's not really sure what's going on here. She's not sure why perhaps Bayley's doing this, but she's not going to deny Liv Morgan a shot at the title. So, Liv Morgan versus Bayley, it's official. A Raw Women's Championship match out of nowhere here. And we get to the match, and it is, as you would expect, Bayley getting the win. Another just a atrocious match, 55. This show has been terrible. But it is Bayley defeating Liv Morgan, 8:24, the Bayley to belly. And so Bayley officially makes her second defense of the Raw Women's Championship. So no shenanigans. It's just Bayley winning a clean match here over Liv Morgan. And we see here no chemistry between these two. By the way, I did realize that we did have this match way back when, and that they had no chemistry, but I had to run it back here for a reason. And again, you'll see the story play out and understand why we had to do this match. But this is, something that we took the hit knowing that this was not going to be. I mean, clearly we took it on the right show because this show itself has been a mess thus far from a rating standpoint, but we're used to that. On the go-home shows, I always say, the go-home shows seem to be our worst rated shows, period, for the most part. So no chemistry. I knew that going in, but we had to have this match for the story. And so Bayley successfully defends her Raw Women's Championship against Liv Morgan here. So Liv Morgan had her shot. Bayley still keeps the title. And after the match, it is Bayley who walks away and yells at Rhea Ripley, who's checking on Liv Morgan, that she will see Rhea Ripley at Armageddon. So Bayley, surprisingly, defending her title out of nowhere here, and then telling Rhea Ripley she will see her at Armageddon. So 73 for this one. And then we get a promo backstage from Cesaro, who points out that he came very close to beating Edge for the WWE Championship when they had their match not long ago. And, of course, that was the night that everything started. We had the reformation of the Bullet Club. AJ Styles kind of made his, triumphant return. And that was the night that Cesaro said, I had Edge beat to win the title. But then AJ Styles, everyone else got involved. But Cesaro says, I'm finally going to get my shot again and prove that I was just seconds away from being the WWE champion. So Cesaro's promo here gets a 78, and then we transition into the promo from Big E. You know where this is headed. So it is Big E pointing out once again that all these guys, everybody can talk. He respects Cesaro. He respects Daniel Bryan, but he wants to point out that he is the one that has still not been pinned here in WWE. Ever since the draft happened, ever since he came to Raw, he has not been pinned, and that everything he's done is to lead him to this moment to get his shot at the Royal Rumble for the WWE Championship. And so Big E says he wants them to remember, they've had their ups and downs, they've had their dealings with everyone, but no one has taken him out yet, and that is going to prove true whenever he wins the match at Armageddon and goes on to beat Edge for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. So an 84, Big E, good stuff here, and then it gets to Daniel Bryan, so we get good ratings for all of these as we would want. We cut to Daniel Bryan, who, once again, kind of points out that everything, this whole championship reign of Edge, all started with Edge and Orton doing, their slimy thing they did at SummerSlam, just as Bryan had won his championship. Everyone, thinking that Bryan was just triumphant and was going to have this long title reign, but it was cut short because of those two. And Bryan says he's finally going to get his one-on-one match. He knows he's been in the triple threat. He's had a bunch of other matches, all these multi-man tags. Bryan says he's tired of all of it. He wants his one-on-one match because he wants to hold that championship again. He had it in his hands. It got it taken away from him, and he's going to get it back when he gets his one-on-one match with Edge at the Royal Rumble. So a 90 for this one. So there's your kind of, 3 promos leading into our big triple threat number 1 contenders match at Armageddon. So they all deliver good stuff there. And that leads us to our main event, which is Adam Cole getting the win over Rey Mysterio, 11:45. So this gives Cole a little momentum here heading into that 6-man tag at Armageddon. And it is 11:45, and he gets a 66, so another just not great here. This show, if this show gets a 75, I'll be thrilled. But it is Cole getting the win. And as you see, we have a distraction from Angel Garza, who, as we've seen, has played a role here in kind of, seemingly having his eye on Dominic Mysterio. And so the distraction is Ray gets distracted because he sees Angel Garza come down and basically, once again, kind of trying to speak to Dominic. Ray gets distracted, doesn't like that. That allows Adam Cole to get the win here. Our first singles match, actually, I think we've had for Adam Cole. We've kind of balanced everything with the multi-man tags and all that. So Cole gets the win, and after the match, this is what we're looking at here. Here comes Randy Orton, as it is Randy Orton hitting the RKO on Adam Cole after the match. So Orton sneaks in, RKO out of nowhere, and he hits that on Adam Cole, and that is where we then go to after that, and it gets a 78, so we finish strong. Here comes Styles and Balor, who are out there. They try to make the save as Orton has snuck in and hit the RKO on Adam Cole, but it is Edge who spears Styles, and then Orton hits the RKO on Finn Balor, and that is how we go off the air leading into our big match on Sunday, the street fight between Edge, Randy Orton, and a mystery partner, and the Bullet Club here. So it's actually Edge and Orton, despite not having the numbers advantage, getting a little bit of the upper hand here on the Bullet Club. We haven't seen that a whole lot, but they do it here, and it is Edge and Orton kind of pointing out, kind of flexing their strength here as the two that, have kind of started all of this from the start, but they are the ones who are standing tall on the official, go-home episode here leading into Armageddon. So 78 here for this one. That's how we finish up this show. And like I said, boy, this show is a disaster. 78, it's okay. We didn't lose any popularity. That's all that matters, right? But from a rating standpoint, not a lot. But as you saw, we're trying a bunch of different things. We've got Angle introduced now, pairing up with Gable. Johnny Gargano has officially arrived here to challenge Owens. We had a very interesting dynamic with Bayley defending her title out of nowhere against someone she had no chemistry with. But these are things that we just had to put in motion for the stories involved. So not a lot of light blue on this one, and that's what we usually need to get those high ratings. So, but a 78, and that sets things in motion leading into Armageddon on Sunday. So we will wrap up here and see what we get to before we do that. All right, so Raw, we get a positive show, not a great show by any means, but that is noteworthy there. Let's look at our mail real quick. Viper Mary, so that's going to be Piper Niven, Dewdrop, whatever you want to call her. The Butcher, his contract is up. I don't know if I would love to have the Butcher and the Blade, but I don't know if both of them are going to have the contract up. We'll leave this there in case. Drug test fees, I already look at this. Triple H complaining again. His ass is complaining again. Raw, we get a 3.92, and let's see what Triple H has to complain about. We all know, unhappy with how I've been used recently. My momentum is completely dead. All right, well, let's take a look at Triple H to see if his momentum is completely dead, because I think you all know he is 18-0-0. He's not lost a match. He's beaten everyone. Just going to let that sit for a second. He's beaten everyone that he's faced. Like, he has put himself over the entire NXT roster at this point. How many times is he going to beat Kushida? Like, how many? Is he going for, like, a world record for how many times he's beaten one opponent? He's going to beat Kushida again. I guarantee you. Next time we check on Triple H, he's going to have 5 more wins over Kushida. Anyways. All right. Triple H is unhappy. I still don't care. Anyways, there is your go-home edition of Raw. Leading into Armageddon. As always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys being patient. As I said, while I've worked to get my voice back here, apologies for any small coughs throughout this episode, but we're still getting there. So on the next episode, it'll be SmackDown, which we know we've had a lot going on that show, given everything going on with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. So that'll be the next episode, and then after that, we'll do our Armageddon preview. And then it will be Armageddon. And we have like I said, there will be more matches added to Armageddon than we haven't actually announced yet. I know that's very unusual for the pay-per-views we do, but this just happened to be one that just fell in the wrong spot for me to build up a ton, knowing that we had the Mae Young Classic and all that to build up. So I think there'll be 1 or 2 more matches added. I know one for sure, but we'll talk about that in the Armageddon preview here when we get to it. And again, AEW, be sure to check out that series. We've got a lot going on in that one. New episode of that one. I'll start working on that. Be sure to check all that out. WCW 1998 is back, all that good stuff. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. But thanks for watching, as always. And on the next episode of this WWE series, it will be SmackDown for December, week 4.